Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe
Jaya Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe.
Jaya Nitai Chaitanya Daya Nitai Chaitanya
Dayal Nitai Chaitanya, Nitai Chaitanya, Dayal Nitai Chaitanya.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Srila Gurudev
Jaya Jaya
Gurudev
Jaya Srila
Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you so much again for taking out your valuable time on this wonderful day of Ekadashi. So thank you, Sampada Mataji, Aradhana Mataji, Kashish Mataji, Parina Mataji, and Vyas Prabhu, Anupati Mataji, Puja Mataji, Vinita Mataji, and Abhishek Prabhu, Avinash Prabhu, Natasha Mataji, thank you so much. You all are taking your wonderful time and giving your wonderful association. This is really very, very enlightening and inspiring. And Lakshay Prabhu and Rakesh Prabhu, thank you so much. So we will start the discussion today with some prayers, and then we'll go to chapter 7, where we left from text number 4. So if you remember, we discussed in the first 3 verses of chapter 7. This section primarily talks about Bhakti Yoga, and we discussed that how can we understand Bhakti Yoga is through the process of Shravanam. Without Shravanam, we cannot understand, and hearing from the right authorities, the bona fide scriptures, the bona fide Guru, and then only we can see God, not through our eyes, but through our ears. So let's chant some prayers, and then we'll go to the verses.
Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Nirabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Karamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine.
So we'll begin with chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, and from text numbers 4. So the acronym for this chapter is, if you remember, head. The first 3 verses talk about the edge of hearing or Shravanam, and then we will understand today from 4 to 12 is about E. God is everywhere, but still we can't see, but we can only see if we hear. And then, so let's go into this chapter. And today, my good wife, Manjulali Priya Devi, will be primarily sharing. She has heard and read many Prabhupada's lectures on these topics. So we are eager to hear from her, including myself. I'm very eager to hear. So thank you. Okay, so like always, if you're interested to read any of the verses, you can raise your hand and keep it raised until your turn comes. We'll start with maybe Sampada Mataji. You want to read the text 4?
Sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, text 4. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kammano buddhir evacha ahankara iti yam me bhinna prakti. Can you stop? Translation: Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, back to you.
Thank you so much for reading. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Can someone read text 5 also? Then we'll discuss together text 4 and 5. Would someone like to read text 5?
Radha Mataji, you want to read?
Aparyayam itastva anyayam prakarim viddhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam zarati jagat. Translation: Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another, superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of the material inferior nature. Back to you, Prabhuji. Haribol.
Thank you so much. So these, as we discuss, the topic for today is how to see Krishna everywhere. So we'll first understand the fundamental basis of our existence. So if you see text 4, Krishna is saying earth, water, fire, air, ether, and he includes mind, intelligence, and false ego are all the separated energies. And if you see your own bodies, and if you see world around us, then actually this is what everything is being made of. And we see earth, water, fire. What is a house? It's made of brick. It needs some water. Brick is coming from the earth. It needs some water. It may need some fire to heat the brick, and then and we exist in the air. We're breathing, and we are hearing so many sounds. So everything is based on these gross elements. First is earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are gross elements going from the grossest to the subtlest, and they're still gross, but you see, earth, it's solid, we can feel it. And then there's water, which is a little more subtler and not as solid as the earth. And then comes fire, we can feel the heat. So we're able to feel it, see it, and we get burnt. So we are able to touch it to some extent, but it's still a little bit more subtle. And then air is, we can feel it, but we cannot see it. And then sound, we can hear it, but we cannot see it, feel it, all these things. So we see these are gross elements. And then there's subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So we're all covered by these different coverings, and they're separating us. These are all material elements. So mind, and then intelligence, and is governed by a false ego. And this is what we are made of eventually. So this is gross body, and this is the understanding of a gross body and a subtle body. Now, if we talk about mind, we say, can you show me your mind? And nobody can show us the mind. But what are the symptoms of mind? How do we know we have mind? We are thinking, we are feeling, and we are willing. So these are symptoms of mind. So we know mind exists. Then we are ruling or governing our mind by our intelligence. Our mind may say, well, I want to eat more of this prasad, or more of this foodstuffs or ice creams. But our intelligence says, no, if you eat too much ice cream, then probably you have sore throat, or it may not, or you may become, you may have unnecessary fat in your body, so you can't eat too much. So the intelligence is ruling the mind like that. And false ego is that I think that I'm this body, I'm this what this earth, water, fire, air, whatever the body is made of. This is me. So this is what the false ego does. So the mind, as we discussed in the previous chapter, in the 6th chapter, that mind is very, very powerful. It's so difficult to control. Arjuna is saying, he's telling Krishna, it's so difficult to control. What should I do? I'd rather control wind. And Krishna is saying that you practice and you detach yourself. So the nature of the mind is to hover over different objects or people for pleasure. But if our intelligence is governed by Krishna consciousness, then we can control our mind. Then it becomes easy. If we dovetail our mind in Krishna service, then it becomes easy to control the mind. And gradually we'll be able to free ourselves from this false ego, thinking that I am this body. So Krishna here is telling us that he is the source of all these energies. And what you will interestingly notice in all these verses that we may be able to discuss today is actually Krishna saying aham, or he's saying mai. He's saying that is mine. You see, Krishna is saying constitute my separated energies. So iti yam me. So he's saying iti yam me, my. So Krishna is not impersonal. Krishna is a person. We have to appreciate that. If anybody who knows Sanskrit a little bit, or whoever wants to read a little bit basic Sanskrit, aham means I. And I is what is referred to a person. We do not refer to a thing or something, an object. So Krishna is a person. So you have to appreciate in all these verses, Krishna is telling, I am a person. And there are other philosophers who may try to distort this understanding that Krishna is not a person. He's just a mythical figure standing here speaking some great philosophy. But if Krishna is a mythical person, if Krishna is an ordinary person, why would so many philosophers be interested in reading Bhagavad Gita? Why Bhagavad Gita is celebrated even after so many years? Because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you have to appreciate Krishna's words here. He's saying aham, me, mai. So again and again, Krishna is telling us that he is a person. So now it is explained that, when Lord Mahavishnu breathes, then the sound is created. The sound is the basis of existence. Sound is the basis of existence. Because of the sound, everything is being created. From sound came ether, and then came air, then came fire, and then came water, followed by earth. So like that, the creation happened. And then we were given this mind, intelligence, and false ego. And we also have to appreciate that this what is animating all these things? What is animating this earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego is the soul. Once the soul is gone, the body is no longer functioning. We may be perspiring now because the body is living, it's producing something. But as soon as the soul is gone, the body is not producing any perspiration. The body is not growing nails. The body is not growing hair. Nothing is being grown. Everything is like still. Even though this matter, these elements, these 8 elements are there, still, or at least 5 elements are there, and the subtle body goes with the soul. The body is not functioning. So the soul is the basis of existence. The body shows symptoms of growth because of the presence of the soul. And so we understand this principle that body is being animated. The body, which is made of all these elements, is being animated by the presence of the soul. Prabhupada gives the example of a lemon tree. So if we take a lemon tree, and if we take lemon juice, we see there's a lot of citric acid in the tree. But as soon as the tree is dead, will it produce citric acid? Will it produce lemon juice? There will be no lemon juice. If we are dead, will we produce any chemicals from our body? nothing will be produced. No hormones, no chemicals, no perspiration, nothing. So we have to appreciate that as we are living, these things are being produced. So how can Krishna produce these things? Because Krishna is a supreme, eternal person. And from his body, he's a Virat person, he's a supreme person, very great person. And from his body, all these elements are coming. So we see great oceans. It's compared to it's said that it's the perspiration of the Supreme Lord. And just as we are producing some sweat, some perspiration, it is not creating oceans. But because Krishna is Virat Purusha, he's creating oceans and oceans for us. And so we have to appreciate Krishna's energies. Now, Krishna is also saying here, these are my separated energies. He's not saying these are my energies. He's saying my separated energies. Bhinna. Bhinna means separated. Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. Ashtada, 8 elements. Bhinna Prakriti. These are my separated energies. Why is he saying my separated energies? Because we cannot perceive Krishna directly through these energies. It's not that we say, oh, this is earth and we can see Krishna. But we have to understand that when Krishna is saying, oh, I'm this earth, I'm this water, then we can remember Krishna. Because Krishna is saying, these are my separated energies. So you cannot perceive Krishna directly. So Krishna is saying, my separated energies. And then also it's a reflection. It is a chaya, chayeva. He's saying that this is also a reflection of the spiritual world. This is not the reality. But similar thing exists in the spiritual world. So we can remember Krishna. Also, we can understand this by another example, that if I am speaking if I'm speaking something and somebody is recording it, then you later hear it. So this is my separated energy. So Krishna is saying this is my separated energy. So the part is left. But we cannot say that tape recorder is a person. No, the voice is there, the energy is there, the person is still away. So that aspect also we have to appreciate, that Krishna is saying that this is my separated energy. So just as we experience heat from the light, or we experience brightness when we are in the light. So the light is the source, the brightness is the energy. And then the brightest energy, we're experiencing that. So we're experiencing Krishna through his various energies in the material world, different ways. So one aspect as a practitioner, this is the fundamental understanding of existence and how things are working. But as we become more mature, more advanced, then how do we use this principle in our day-to-day life? Sri Rupa Goswami explains the principle of Yukt Vairagya. Yukt Vairagya means using everything in Krishna's service. So when we see these energies, we should immediately try to use it for Krishna, because Krishna is saying, these are my energies. So we use Krishna's energy for Krishna's purposes. So we can use the same brick, same water, same fire for making a house which is very opulent. And for what? Maybe for our own selves. These are Krishna's energies, but we are using it for our own selves. But what we can do is we can use the same energies and make a temple out of it. Then it's Yukta Vairagya. We're using the Krishna's energies for Krishna's purposes, for glorifying Krishna's name, for glorifying Krishna's form, for spreading the teachings of the Lord. So that is Yukta Vairagya. So there's, Prabhupada was always conscious of seeing Krishna everywhere. And there's a famous story of a leaking faucet. So Prabhupada was taking a walk in Mayapur with his disciples, American disciples, and he pointed very far off and he said, don't you see what is happening there? And disciples were wondering what is happening there. And they were looking all over. They were just feeling that Mayapur was not developed at that time. Mayapur is the international headquarters for ISKCON. So, and at that time, nothing was there. It was just land. And Prabhupada immediately ran from that assembly of devotees, and he went to the faucet. The faucet was leaking. So he said, see, the water is leaking here. It's Krishna's energies. We should preserve it. And then one time he was in New York in early days. He was preaching and cultivating devotees. Somebody left. He was living in Second Avenue, and bills were hard to pay that time. There was not much funds. Somehow Krishna was arranging money, and the electricity was on. But Prabhupada was not concerned about money. He said, "Oh, it's Krishna's energy." Every time the disciples would leave, leave the facilities on like electricity, he would be disturbed because he would say, "Oh, it's Krishna's energy and it should not be wasted. It should be utilized in Krishna's service." So we may have a lot of wealth, we may have some fame, we may have some prestige, some position. We should consider it as Krishna's gifts. These are Krishna's supreme gifts, so that we are not anxious for little things in our lives. And when they are there with us, we should try to utilize it for Krishna's purposes. We should cherish them and understand that this Krishna has provided me for some time. We have the access to these facilities for some time. We don't know when they would be taken away. But as long as I have, I should utilize it for Krishna's service. So these are Krishna's special gifts. So understanding that everything belongs to the Lord is very, very important. So this verse is trying to say that we should utilize everything for the purpose of the Lord. We should not try to exploit it. Then we are cheaters, then we are thieves. Because Krishna is saying these are my energies. He's the proprietor. So we should try to utilize it. In text 5, Krishna is saying, besides these, O mighty Arjuna, there's another superior energy of life. So he's calling us, the living entities, as a superior energy. Krishna has various energies, because Krishna has multiple energies, and so Krishna is calling us superior energy. And what do we do? This superior energy is trying to exploit the resources of this material inferior nature. He's calling the material world as inferior nature. So the superior energy is called para prakriti, and inferior nature is called apara prakriti. And so this para prakriti is trying to utilize or exploit the inferior energy. So we see there are different things happening in the material world. People are constructing roads, they are uprooting the trees. So they are exploiting, for different purposes. They're digging oil from the Mother Earth again and again. For what? For sense gratification mostly. Sometimes very few people are using it for Lord's purposes, but most people are trying to utilize it for their own purposes. So we're trying to exploit. Also, we understand this material nature, which is the inferior nature, which is consisting of earth, water, fire, air, ether, is actually not activated until unless the superior energy comes into picture. So there's another example that we see. We are flying in a plane, and the pilot is actually flying the plane. So the plane itself is not flying, but the superior energy, the pilot, the living entity, is actually flying the aircraft. So if we have the aircraft just like that, nobody is there, nothing will happen. And it's not activated. So, but the pilot is activating it. So we are seeing that how the superior energy, when it comes into contact with inferior energy, it activates the inferior energy. Just as we were discussing the example of how the soul activates the body. So we see the lights, switches, or it may be just remote control, but we press the remote control and things are on in the room, in the facility. So the superior energy is activating the inferior energy. We see a lot of times the baby may pass away in the womb and the growth completely stops. Why does it stop? Because the soul has left the particular body and the baby is not able to grow. Baby is not showing the signs of life anymore. So the superior energy is activating the inferior energy. And there's no exception to that rule. Everywhere, everything is happening because of this contact of the superior energy with the inferior energy. Inferior energy itself is not doing anything. So this was text 4 and 5.
Thank you. I just want to add the 1 or 2 points here, especially on this occasion of Vijayadashmi, which was yesterday. So practically everything we see around is a combination of these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Talking about the mobile phone, it's a combination of these elements. Talking about how we are right now connected through Zoom. So we are using the ether element. It's not that a wire is running from my home to Sampada's home to Dasha Mataji's home and then Kashish Mataji's home. So we're using the ether or the air element as well here. So that's a very good use because we are using this, as Manjulali mentioned about Yukta Vairagya, because all this belong to Krishna. And if we misutilize it, like Ravana was trying to get Krishna's energy away from, or Rama's energy, that's of course not separate energy, that's internal energy. But the point is, wanted to get the energy of the Lord without the service of the Lord. Nowadays, many people celebrate Durga Puja, Lakshmi Puja, etc. But they forget the master of Durga Devi. We shared the story of Chandidas also. Forgetting about the master of Durga Devi, forgetting about the master of Lakshmi Devi, they won't be happy to be worshipped away from their master or separated from their master. Rather, we have to try to instill the spirit of Hanuman and Vibhishana, who were trying to bring the energy of the Lord to the Lord, because it belongs. Like Vibhishana was giving multiple counsels to Ravana that return Sita. And Hanuman was the one who was instrumental to bring Mata Sita close to Sri Ramchandra. So if we use now these days, we have phones, we have internet, we have TV, we have gadget. So many gadgets are there. We can use it away from Krishna, and we can use it in wrong things as well. This will take us away from the energetic, that is Krishna, who is the source of all these energies. And then he won't be happy, we won't be happy, and will basically lead to forgetfulness of the Krishna consciousness. And that's the cause of all the miseries. But when the same things, whether it's a Zoom class or Zoom platform or mobile phone or internet, TV, home, car, anything for that matter, can be used in Krishna's service, provided we have the right Shravanam, how to channelize that in the service of the Supreme Lord. So this is about Ravana and Vibhishana. Same thing happened with Duryodhana and Arjuna. Duryodhana wanted the Narayani Sena of the Lord, Krishna, and Arjuna wanted the Supreme Lord. Because where there is Supreme Lord, everything, good will happen. Everything, there will be victory, there will be opulence, there will be morality. So in a joke in this regard, one time Bill Gates was talking to God. His Grace Shaman Prabhu shared this joke long back about the activation of the elements. So Bill Gates said, well, I can do whatever God can do, right? These days, big people, scientists say, we want to play God. So Bill Gates said, well, I can do anything you can do. I have a big team of expert, intelligent people. So God took some earth element in his hand, some dirt, and blew some air and created life out of it. He's the Supreme Lord, he can do anything. And then Bill Gates said, well, very simple, I can do it. He said, okay, he also took some earth element and then was trying to do something. He said, okay, wait, hold on, get your own earth. So people trying to use the energy of the Lord to play with God, to trick God, but ultimately they just, it's a joke, there's not but the lesson is important here, that just had to share the important, there's 2 points. Anyone has any other comments before we move on to, and if you are in a position to use your video element of your thing to use it so we can see each other, that's very helpful, because unless you are in a spot where you can't share your videos, that's understood, but if you can, that really helps to connect better. So if anyone wants to read next verse, text number 6, please. Kashish Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, kindly accept my dandas. Dandat Pranam all devotees. Text number 6. एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणि त्युपधारय अहं प्रसन्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा. Prabhuji, shall I read the translation also?
Please, Mataji.
Ji. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All created beings have their source in these two natures, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Known for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Back to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So we're discussing about para-prakriti and apara-prakriti, the superior energy, inferior energy, and without spiritual energy, material energy has no power. We discussed different examples. So here Krishna is saying, Aham Krishnasya Jagata Prabhava Pralaya. So he's saying, I'm activating all the things, all the created beings, and all the material and the spiritual energies is being activated by me. And he is also the cause of Prabhava, generation, and then Pralaya, that means dissolution, annihilation. So that, as you'll be reading in the 8th chapter, Krishna will talk about how the world is being created and then how it gets annihilated at the end of Brahma's day. And so this is always going on, constantly going on in that cycle. And we see, even in our own perspective, we see that how a body is created at a certain date. There's a manufacturing date and then expiry date. At a certain point, it's annihilated. The death comes. The body is no more. At that particular soul leaves the body and the body is no more. So we are being created at a certain date and then we have to be annihilated at a certain date. So this is always going on. But Krishna is above all these Prabhava and Pralaya. He's not subjugated to these creations and annihilations. He's the cause of annihilation and creation, which is to be remembered. He's the cause of everything that we see around us. That is what Krishna is trying to explain in all these verses. That whatever we see, whatever has life, whatever has whatever energies or things that we're using in this world is actually coming from the Supreme Lord. So he's the cause of its generation and he is the cause of its annihilation. So we discussed a lot of things before in text 7.4 and 5. So anything that you would like to add?
Okay, so one nice acronym to remember this. God, God, is the generator of everything. He's the operator or maintainer, and he's the destroyer as well. So that's not the highest definition of God, but that's one of the definitions. Of course, we know the highest definition. Krishna doesn't like to be called as generator, operator, destroyer, but these are the foundation. And then we call him as Damodar, which is coming very soon. We call him as Govinda, Gopal, Madhusudana, Rama, Keshava, all these wonderful names. He likes to be addressed more with those names. So the Damodar festival is coming in just a few days from now, from Wednesday onwards. So we'll talk more about that sometime later. But let's move on to the very, very important verse, which is text 7. Yes, Puja Mataji, want to try this? Thank you for joining. We're very grateful for your association. You can please unmute and read this text 7. You have to unmute before you read, Mataji. Can you unmute? You have to unmute.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm reading text 7. Mata parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre mani gana Eva. Haribo.
Yes, you can read the translation as well in this verse.
Yes. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearl are strung on a thread.
Thank you so much for so nicely reading this important verse. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is, as we were saying, that this is important verse to understand that everything is resting upon the Supreme Lord. He's saying, and Krishna is again saying, Aham, saying I, everything rests upon me. Mai sarvam midam protam, he's saying. Everything is resting upon me. Very important. So again, signifying that he's a person. And we see if in Amazon, there's so many employees, hundreds and hundreds. And it's not that Jeff Bezos would stay in Amazon for like throughout the day or even throughout the week. And he may be sometimes away, but his energies are working. His energies are working in Amazon, employees are working. And each and every employee is cognizant of the fact that this big Amazon office company belongs to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is not there, but they know, they're conscious. Similarly, we have to be conscious that everything here we see belongs to Krishna. If Krishna is above, where is he? In Golak Vrindavan. He's enjoying his pastimes, but everything is being sustained by him and by his energies. So that is a very, very important principle, to be Krishna conscious. So being Krishna conscious, it's not very difficult. It's just the understanding that what did I bring with myself and what will I take with myself? Everything that I have pride in, that I possess, will stay here. So what is mine? Everything belongs to the Lord. And when everything belongs to the Lord, every time we see should remind us of Krishna. And so it's not very difficult to be Krishna conscious. The nature of this world is that we have to work. We cannot live without working. We have to keep the body and soul together, isn't it? So we have to work, we have to earn, we have to go out, we have to meet people. But just that fact that everything belongs to Krishna. Our bosses may be harassing us, but understanding that the supreme boss is Krishna. Even above this boss, he may not realize, but if I realize, then I'm Krishna conscious. And that is very, very important, that we have to go out. We have to remember that everything belongs to Krishna. And even Arjuna, he was fighting, he was utilizing his ability to fight for Krishna. And in fighting, but he was remembering that I'm fighting for Krishna. So he was being Krishna conscious, even though he was apparently engaged in the act of fighting, but he was Krishna conscious. So that requires a little practice, a little understanding, and then we will be able to see Krishna and appreciate Krishna everywhere. So how Krishna is saying here that everything rests upon him. Everything is working because of his direction and energy. So Krishna, first expansion of Krishna is Balaram. And from Balaram comes Chaturvyuha. Chaturvyuha consists of Vasudev, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Aniruddha. And from Sankarshan comes Narayan. And from Narayan, there again comes Chaturvyuha. So again, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudev, Aniruddha comes. And from again Sankarshana comes Purushavtaras. That means the three Vishnus, Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So that Garbhodaksha Vishnu is sustaining the universes, from whose navel the Lord Brahma comes. Mahavishnu is the supreme Lord. He's overseeing everything. And Kshirodaksha Vishnu enters as Paramatma, or the super soul, in each and every one of our hearts. He's present in every atom as Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So those are the energies which are actually sustaining the world. Krishna is directly not doing anything, but he's expanding himself. He's expanding himself, and those are the personalities which are sustaining the universes, maintaining, and then he creates demigods are maintaining the universes. So all these things are maintaining. But if Krishna withdraws his presence, then everything would collapse. Krishna says in chapter 15, text 13, Gam avishya cha bhutan. He says, I enter each and every planet and sustain them. That's how they remain in orbit. From our understanding, from our modern science understanding, we think, oh, Krishna is, these planets are being sustained by the law of gravitation, somehow sustaining. But no, Krishna is saying, Gam avishya cha bhutan. He's telling that I enter each and every planet and I'm sustaining them. So, so this is what we have to understand, that Krishna is sustaining. As soon as Krishna withdraws his presence, then everything would collapse. And Krishna has different various Shaktis. We are within Amshas. We are in the Tathastha Shakti. That means we are marginal energy. That means we can choose where we want to be, whether we want to be in the inferior energy or we want to associate with the spiritual energy. We can decide. So we are marginal. We can decide where we want to be. And then there's different Shaktis: Chitta Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, Bhairanga Shakti, the internal energy, the external energy. Different energies are running even in the spiritual world and in the material world, and sustaining and giving pleasure to the Supreme Lord, sustaining the living entities. Also, here Krishna is saying that these are strung as pearls are strung on a thread. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Prabhupada explains that because pearls are also round and universes are also round, so Krishna is using this analogy to explain that his pearls are strung upon a string. He could have said flowers are strung upon a string, but he said pearls are strung upon a string. So Prabhupada is explaining that because universes are also round in their shape, so that's why Krishna is using this analogy. So Krishna is nicely sitting. Lord Brahma is saying, Goloka eva nevasatya akilatma bhuta. Krishna is enjoying his eternal pastimes in Goloka, but Andantarastha Paramanu Chayanta, he's also present in each and every atom of this universe, of this creation. He's aware of everything that is going on in this universe. So he's simultaneously present and enjoying his pastimes in the spiritual world. He's also present in each and every innumerable universes, not just our universes. So he's present everywhere. So Krishna, just as Krishna explains, Prabhupada explains that consciousness is pervading the entire body. Consciousness is so tiny, soul is so tiny, 1/10,000 the tip of a hair, but it's sustaining the whole body. Similarly, Krishna is sustaining the universes. He's not seen, he's not directly seen, but he's sustaining, just as the consciousness is sustaining. So that was text 7. Do you like to add anything?
There's a famous example of or a story of Einstein. He had a friend who was not believer of God. He said, well, science created everything. Like some people still believe that the cause of the universe is a big bang, right? In science, and I'm not sure if it's still the curriculum, but when I was a student in maybe 5th, 6th, 7th grade, I don't know what class they teach this subject, but the Big Bang theory, that there was a big bang and that led to the cause of all the planets. Whenever there is a bang, whenever there is an explosion, what comes in the first in our mind? How many people died? How many people got injured? What was the loss of the property or anything around? Can we imagine, even in our dreams, there was a big bang and beautiful city was made, a beautiful palace was made, a beautiful car was made, or anything good coming out of a bang? No. So it's not the big bang, it's the big brain. And often this brain is not seen. For example, this thread analogy is given here in text 7.7. We see the pearls, right? Do we see the thread? We don't see the thread which is keeping the pearls together. So often people try to Now, someone who does not know how a pearl necklace is made, a less intelligent child, a 5-year-old, will say, look at the pearls, right? They'll just say, oh, these pearls are somehow together, right? The child would not know, or the less intelligent would not know, that there is actually a thread which is keeping the pearls together. Without the thread, the pearls would not be together. Similarly, the thread, Krishna is being compared here, Sutre Mani Ganaiva, that how the thread, the pearls rest upon the thread, right? As the pearls are strung on a thread, all the planets, all the creation. And when we talk about planets, we're not just talking about the 9 planets which the so far scientists have unveiled. We're talking about unlimited material universes and the spiritual universes. This is infinite creation. So even in science, we have to make models of solar system, right? Sometimes. So we use some base, right? Either we strung with a thread, or we put some wire, or put something, or rest on a hard surface. Can we just somehow make them float in the air? Right? Can we do that? No one can do that. But Krishna is doing that. It is said the distance between the sun and the earth, if it would have been a little here or a little there, it would have been a mess, right? The man-made things, satellites and stuff, we see clashing, we see rocket failures and flight failures and crashes. Have we heard, oh, Earth colliding with the sun colliding with Jupiter? No, because it's a much intelligent. He is the most intelligent. There's no one more intelligent than he's a source of all intelligence, which we will also study later. So the point is that he's the cause behind everything, although we may not be directly be able to perceive it, but we have to understand through the eyes of scriptures or Shravana. And the story of the Einstein, that he had a friend who was atheist. Einstein was a believer of God. He made a model of solar system with a rotating crankshaft, and he would rotate the crankshaft and the planets would move in nice orbits. And it was a very nice piece of art and physics. So the friend asked, well, who made this wonderful model? And he replied, well, I was sleeping. There was some wood here. There were some balls here. There was some metal here. And I just woke up in the morning and I heard some bang, and this masterpiece was created. He says, come on, don't lie. It cannot happen. This cannot come by a bang. This cannot come by chance. I'm sure someone would have made this masterpiece, because so much order, organization, pattern, perfection. It cannot. By bang, only destruction happens, but only disorganization happens. So, and then he got his lesson that Einstein shared. My dear friend, you are not ready to believe that this a kind of a model of the system, can come by chance or by a bang. How can you even think that this whole great, enormous creation of the Supreme Lord can come by chance or by a bang? And then he got his lesson that it's not the big bang, it's the big brain behind, who is the cause of everything. Sarva karanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Vashami. Anything else anyone has to add or share? Okay, so we will go to the next verse, which is text number 8. Would someone like to read? Doesn't have a chance yet. Yes, Prabhu, want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Uh, uh, Hare Krishna, all devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Rasohamsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayoho Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu Ke Paurusham Rushu. Translation: O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man.
Okay, thank you,
Purpose.
Prabhu.
Okay,
Let's
sure.
go with the translation now.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Text 9, if somebody would like to read.
Anyone who hasn't read so
Lakshay?
far? Lakshay Prabhu, want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Punyo Ganda Pritivyam Cha Tejas Chasmi Vibal Asho Jivanam Shrava Bhuteshu Tapas Chasmi Tapas Vishu. Translation: I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all the lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Text 10, if anybody would like to read.
Thank you, Lakshay Prabhu. Varna Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi pratha satanam sanatanam buddhir buddhi matam asmi tejas tejasvinam aham. Translation: O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the emergence of the intelligent, and the progress of the powerful. Back to you.
Thank you so much. So again, as you'd be noticing that Krishna is saying aham in all these verses, chasmi, aham, that means asmi, mam, these are all again signifying that he's a person. So just as a doctor gives a prescription, take this medicine at this time, in this much dosage for these many days. Similarly, and we have to follow that prescription to heal ourselves. Similarly, Krishna is saying that follow this prescription of seeing or perceiving myself in all these elements that we'll be discussing. That see me in all these things. I'm non-different from all these things. Because in preliminary stage, it may be difficult for us to see Krishna face to face. As an advanced devotee, it's very easy. The advanced devotee doesn't see ocean as ocean. It sees how Krishna is working wonderfully. This ocean is so vast, it's so deep. They're easily and very quickly they're able to relate or connect it to Krishna or see Krishna directly there. But in preliminary stages, we will not be able to appreciate Krishna. So we try to follow this prescription given by the Lord that when you're drinking water, it's the taste is me. That taste is equivalent to me. So we are able to remember Krishna every time that we drink water, every time we come in contact with Krishna's energy, we're able to appreciate Krishna. So this is what Krishna is trying to teach us. But as we become purified in our senses, which is primarily the mind, and the rest of the senses, gross senses like eyes, ears, everything will follow. We purify our mind, then we'll be able to see Krishna everywhere very, very easily. That is the prerequisite to see Krishna. And so if we see Krishna's energy like this, it's not very difficult to be Krishna conscious. It's not so difficult. We can just appreciate Krishna everywhere. So Krishna here is saying, I'm the taste of water. So when we're thirsty and we drink water, there's some taste. That's why we are able to quench our thirst. That's why we're satisfied. One time, one teacher said in the class, water is odorless, tasteless. And this devotee who was, I think, Amrenda Prabhu, very famous now, he said to his teacher, no, water is not tasteless. Krishna is saying, I'm the taste of water. So water has taste. And so, modern science is different, but definitely water has some taste because we drink it, we become satisfied, and we enjoy it. So, whenever we are thirsty, we're trying to think of Krishna. Krishna is saying, Rasam apsukante. Rasa means taste, and it's a very attractive taste. So rasa means very attractive taste. So water has an attractive taste in original state. Nobody wants to drink the salty water, but everybody wants to drink the pure water that comes in the river or in the springs because it has sweet taste to it. And anything that may have some taste, like we bite an apple and the apple has a lot of taste, or we prepare a preparation, foodstuffs, and it has taste, good taste, then we can remember Krishna immediately. Oh, Krishna has tasted this foodstuff, so it is tasty. Oh, this apple that Krishna created has such beautiful taste. This lemon juice, the citric acid, or the orange juice that we drink. Oh, these juices, we can remember Krishna, that, wow, Krishna has created such wonderful thing. And we appreciate Krishna. Also in, I think the 9th text, he is saying, Punya Gandha Prithivyancha. So he's saying, I'm the original fragrance of the earth. The earth has a fragrance. As soon as there's rain, the first rain that comes in contact with the earth, there's nice aroma, nice fragrance in the atmosphere, and we appreciate it. And if we see the roses are growing, and so many different flowers are growing, and they're growing into the Mother Earth, and they take fragrance that they are meant to give. They take from the earth and they give fragrance. The rose is giving the fragrance of the rose. The plumerias are giving the fragrance of plumerias. The lotuses are giving the fragrances of lotuses, but they're all taken from the earth. So anything that is grown in the earth also will have its taste. So all the fruits, the vegetables, they all have their taste. We don't have to put too much of masalas or spices to give them taste. They have taste. And Krishna says in the 15th chapter that the moonlight that shines on the vegetables in the night and fruits in the night actually provides taste. And that moonlight is actually not different from Krishna. So again, Krishna is again and again saying that he's pervading everywhere, and everything he's sustaining. And so everything that has taste, good taste, attractive taste, everything that has good fragrance, it's all, we can remember Krishna. Krishna has provided this fragrance to the earth, and the earth is providing these fragrances to all the fruits, vegetables, flowers, and different things that we see. That the synthetic fragrance, the chemicals are not so attractive to the heart, but the natural fragrances are so much attractive to the heart. And Krishna is saying, and the light of the sun and the moon. Somewhere in 15th chapter, he would say, the moon and the sun are my eyes. So Krishna is everywhere. As soon as we see the sun, we can remember Krishna. Krishna is saying he's the light of the sun. Krishna is saying the sun and the moon are my eyes. As soon as we see sun and moon, we can remember Krishna. As we go out, walk, and just see the sun and remember Krishna. And what is the light of the sun? Light of the sun is coming from the Brahma Jyoti. Where the Brahma Jyoti is coming from? It's Krishna's bodily effulgence. So it's the indirect perception of Krishna eventually. And it's not different from Krishna. Prabhupada explains in the 15th chapter that when we see the blue color of the sky, why the sky is blue? Why the sky is blue? Because Krishna's body is blue. Krishna's body is blue, so the effulgence is bluish. And so the color of the sky is bluish. So as soon as we see these things, we can remember Krishna immediately. And the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. So the impersonalists, they're very scared to chant Krishna's personal names because they deny Krishna's personal existence. They think God is not person because they want to be gods. God is not person, we can be gods. So they don't want to accept the authority. So they don't chant Krishna's personal names like Krishna, Govinda, Damodar, Madhava. They don't want to chant. So they chant Om. But Krishna is saying this Om is also me. So Krishna is everywhere. And I'm the sound in ether. So any sound that is generated, any sound is Krishna. But because we forget Krishna, so the sounds which are like Hollywood songs, Bollywood songs, these are not very pleasing to the soul because they're not. We are minusing Krishna from all these things. But when we add Krishna to the sound, it's soothing to the heart. So Krishna is also saying, I'm ability in man. And he says in in 10th text, Buddhir Buddhimatam Asmi, intelligence of the intelligent, the prowess of the powerful, Tejas Tejasvi Namaha. So we have to understand, whenever we see someone very intelligent, we see someone very strong, or we see someone very skillful, we have to remember Krishna, because Krishna is saying, I'm the ability in man, and man doesn't mean just man, but it means a living entity, or human beings. So ability. So when we see these things, we have to remember Krishna. And so we have to understand there's no cause for enviousness. There's no cause for being envious of someone, that, oh, that person is more intelligent, or that person is more strong, or that person is more skillful than me. If we are being envious, then we are actually being envious of the Supreme Lord, because Krishna is saying, I'm ability in man, I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. So we cannot be envious of anyone, because if we are envious of someone, then we are envious of Krishna. And we have to, and when we see those things, then we have to remember Krishna. Oh, Krishna is so merciful that he has given that intelligence or ability to that particular person. And if that person is being able to utilize it for Krishna's purposes, then that's a success of that ability. If not, then Krishna, it doesn't take a lot for Krishna to withdraw his power. So there was, Prabhupada explains that there was a wrestler in Vrindavan. He was very, very proud of his strength. He was very proud. He used to bicker with everyone. He used to argument. He used to put everyone down. And over the years, at one time he became paralyzed. He had a stroke. He became paralyzed. So the ability to walk, even to walk, is gone. What to speak of wrestle? So it doesn't take a lot for Krishna to withdraw his presence, and then everything is gone. We have become proud of our handwriting or painting. Krishna can withdraw the power from the hand, and we may not have power to do anything. What to speak of painting, which is more skill, requires more skill. So it doesn't take a lot for Krishna to withdraw. And if Krishna has given that to someone, or even to us, then we try to utilize it for Krishna's purposes and understand that it's a gift from Krishna, and I must utilize it for him. So there's no need for me to become proud, or if I see in someone else, there's no need to become envious of anyone, because it's just Krishna's. It's Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's manifestation, and we are doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. So we appreciate everyone. So in the 9th text, we discuss the fragrance of the earth and the heat and fire and the life of all that lives. So as soon as we see life anywhere, we have to remember Krishna. It may be trees, it may be animals, it may be human beings. We have to remember Krishna. If we see insects, we have to remember Krishna. And we have to respect that life, because Krishna is saying, I'm the life of all that lives. And as soon as Krishna withdraws his presence from the body is no more functional. It's dead. So Krishna is providing life to everyone. And the penances of all ascetics. So, when we perform certain austerities, tapas means voluntary acceptance of discomfort for the pleasure of the Lord, for increasing our spiritual understanding. So when we take that, when we undergo a penance or austerity or tapas or tapasya, then we are actually associating with Krishna, because Krishna is saying, I am the penances of the ascetics. So we are associating with Krishna. So whatever we try to do, if somebody is already sleeping on the floor, that's not an austerity. He's already used to it. But that person, for that person, something else may be austerity. He may be eating too much. So if he's eating less and taking that austerity to please Krishna or to maintain, to do devotional service better, then that's austerity. But somebody who's sleeping on the bed, sleeping on the floor is an austerity. So we have to see what is austerity for us. Something may be austerity for someone else, someone may be austerity for something may be other austerity for someone else. So like that, we have to see. So it's voluntary acceptance of some discomfort for spiritual progress. That is tapasya. And Krishna is saying, as soon as you do some tapasya, you're just associating with me, it's me. And Krishna is saying, O son of Pritha, know that I'm the original seed of all existences, in text 10. So everything that is being generated in this world, again, we have to Krishna, because he's the seed, he's the original seed, he's the seed giving father, 14.4. Aham bija pradapita. He's the father, he gives the seed. And who is the mother, material nature? She receives the seed and she gives us these particular bodies or different chemical elements to trees, and insects and animals are being sustained. So we have to see Krishna. There's a very wonderful point in the purport of text 8. Just read it. It's towards the end. So you see, the jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere. And one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion. And so knowledge of Krishna is liberation, and ignorance of him is bondage. So you see, Prabhupada is so beautifully writing. Jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere. It just requires that understanding, that cognizance that, oh, it's Krishna, it's Krishna's energy, it's Krishna. Krishna is sustaining everything, everyone, and that is Krishna consciousness. And as soon as we become Krishna consciousness, actually Krishna conscious, then we don't exploit anything or anyone. We don't exploit the material nature because we're conscious, oh, it has to be utilized for Krishna. We don't exploit people, we don't exploit animals. We try to respect them because they have life, and it's Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is a blessing because it keeps our heart soft because we don't exploit anything or everyone. Would you like to add anything?
Thank you. That's such a nice point about how we should not be envious of anyone. When we see these good qualities, rather we should take inspiration. Because Mike Tyson, the famous wrestler, he used to say, "I'm the greatest." So much pride that he was a heavyweight champion or best boxer for quite some time. But later, the same Mike Tyson used to say, "I'm the greatest fool who used to think that I am great." Because it's basically Ravana mentality. I'm great, I'm this, I'm that. Ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. A foolish person out of false ego thinks, oh, I am wealthy, oh, I am beautiful, oh, I am greatest. The same Mike Tyson got this Parkinson disease, and he was not even able to lift his hand to eat some basic, do some basic things, what to speak of fighting in a ring. So if we forget Krishna, as we just discussed, then Krishna will teach us nice lessons. When Arjuna was in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was victorious. Not because of his strength, not because of his Gandiva, not because of his whatever capabilities he had. We all know this story when Krishna, when the war was over, it was the story that Krishna asked Arjuna, please get down. And Arjuna said, my dear master, you please get down. That's the proper etiquette. He said, no, if I get down, you better get down first. And then as Arjuna get down, and then Krishna got down, and the chariot was into ashes. So it was only Krishna who was fighting through the medium of Arjuna. It was only he who was killing all the soldiers through his medium. And actually that story was, the benediction was given to Ghatotkach, or no, what was that? Barbarik, one of the sons of Ghatotkach, who was witnessing, and there's a place called Khatusham. This first time was, my father shared. He was witnessing and then later it was asked, what did you witness? He said, all I witnessed was the Supreme Lord, was his Sudarshan Chakra was acting, and rest all were nimitta. So, and the same Arjuna, when he was trying to bring back the queens of the Supreme Lord back from Dwarka, then later he was defeated by the simple, Gwalbal, or like cowherd men. The same Arjuna who could defeat the great Drona, Bhishma, Karna, etc., he was defeated by the cowherd boy. So how can that happen? That is logically not possible. But logic does not work, because ultimately at that time Krishna's mercy was with him, and then later Krishna, took back to teach the lessons. And Arjuna, there's a very nice verse in Mahabharata. I don't recall the exact verse, but I recall the essence. Arjuna is kind of thinking in his heart, what's missing? The chariot is the same, the Gandiva is the same, the Arjuna is the same, the arrows are the same, everything is the same, but what is not there? My dear friend, my Parthasarthi is not there. My Sakha, Krishna, is not there. So if one gets proud of his knowledge, his intelligence, one's beauty, one's wealth, it will be taken in no time. His Grace, Anuttama Prabhu was recently here. He shared a very nice story that there are so many people who are extraordinary, like one of the big wealthy shots in Dubai, like Saudi Arabia area. He's so wealthy, extraordinary wealth. Palaces, cars, whatever one can materially best think of. Spending thousands and thousands and tens and thousands of dollars every day for their entertainment, to go and do whatever. And then they try to invent new stuff to do something which no one else has done, right? Because what's the fun in watching a movie which everyone is watching? Right? They want to do something which not everyone can do, right? Pride, right? Again, the pride. So they were doing this in these deserts. They were doing some racing. I don't know what this called, like safari race, with special cars, high-speed cars with this, which run on these deserts. And then he was doing that, and it there was an accident, and the car flipped over, and the end. Multi-billionaire, and so ultimately we should be humble. We should be humble, and be grateful, and see the hand of the Supreme Lord. That's what is recommended, and that's what a pure devotee aspires to see or sees, and we aspire to also have that vision. Premanda churita bhakti vilochanena sante sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti yamashama sundara guna achintya swarupam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Those who have eyes anointed with the love of God, they don't see material things or good or bad, or they try to see the hand of God, like Yudhishthira, even in the worst person, trying to see the good, trying to see the hand of God in everyone, trying to see the intelligence of trying to see, what can I learn from that person? Because Krishna has given unique ability, trade skills to everyone. So there is no question of therefore in ISKCON we call everyone as Prabhu and Mataji, that you are my master. That means I'm there to learn from you. I'm there to serve you. So when that will be the mood of humility, the Trinada Pisunichena, then there is absolutely no question of envy. Envy is very far if one has that mood. And the mood will be of seva. The mood will be of a student. I'm a student, you are a master. Even though I'm speaking this class, but you are giving me this chance. I'm so grateful to you, because if you were not in here, I would have not got a chance to study Bhagavad Gita or to purify my tongue by sharing Bhagavad Gita. So I'm so grateful to you, my dear friend, my dear Prabhu, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity. And then there is no question of enmity or enviousness, because we're trying to look for good in everyone. So that's Bhagavad Gita. To spread world peace, happiness, love, kindness, gratitude by seeing the hand of the Supreme Lord. Sthavara jangamana dekhi dekhi tara murti sarvatra hoy ishtadev spurti. Sthavar means stationary, non-living things like a bulb, like a mobile phone, like a book, TV, etc. These are sthavar, they don't move. Jangam is living, animals, plants, human beings, males, females, etc. So a pure devotee does not see this or that, Savar or Jangam. He tries to see this and the Supreme Lord. Sarvatra Ishtadev Spurt. Who is the Ishtadev? Not Damodar, not Krishna. So he has the Spurti of the Ishtadev, Krishna in the heart. So we can also try to cultivate that spirit. I know it's not easy, but we are all trying to. So first we read, hear, understand, and then try to cultivate that spirit. So we are almost towards the end. Let's take a few reflections or comments or questions anyone has in the verses we have covered from text 4 to 10 today. Thank you, Manjulali, for so nicely sharing Prabhupada's words and inspiring all of us. So anyone has any comments, any reflections, anything struck you, anything you want to ask or tell, please, this is a time to do so. Still awake? Can you still hear us, or is it audible?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, we can hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone wants to share any reflection? Reflection means something really struck you, you liked, that inspired you, or you remember something in this connection. So, or
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So really, like, I would like to comment on this, that people who believe in Big Bang Theory, they really need to listen to this, because the way you explained it really makes sense, like how the universe is created, like there has to be an intervention of some higher energy. It cannot be done by Big Bang. So I really like that point, and I understood, like, okay, that makes sense, definitely. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
for those who believe in Big Bang, one devotee was telling, okay, to make your house, get the wood, get the metal, get some aluminum, get some glass, get some cement bags, get some whatever water, get some, paper, paint also, put paint, put everything in a big mountain and put a bomb in there and let the bomb go and your house will be built. Anyone wants to sign a contract for building that home? A builder is building home like this. Who all will sign up a contract for this? Right? So if a tiny home, what to speak of a big, tiny home, even a model home cannot be built by this, right? This approach, what to speak of the entire universe. And there's so much coordination, organization, and planning. For even a model home, if you have to make with thermocol plastics a model home, you need proper tools, ingredients, planning, thought, intelligence. A model home needs less thought, right? Even a child can make, but can a child make like a home where physically people can live? No, it needs some more intelligence, right? A bigger, maybe a scientific or some another complex structure like a bridge 5 kilometers long, it needs more intelligence. So the complex the creation, the more intelligent the creator. So this creation is so complex, from the tiny nanoparticles, DNAs and whatnot. The DNA has information of the books in the whole world in the library. Can we imagine the tiny microstructure which we can't even see and feel? And what to speak of the giant planets and so thank you for sharing that point. Anyone else has anything else to add or connect?
Quick question, Prabhuji. Where does the word God come from?
The word God comes from God. Everything comes from God.
I appreciated the definition that you gave for God: generator, operator, destroyer. Makes perfect sense. However, I've always wondered where the word God comes from. Who thought of God as the supreme?
Now it's same as
It's a reflection. I don't expect an answer, but
why do we call this as pen, right? Right? Why do we call this as pencil? Why don't we call it as microphone? I mean, it's a tricky question. We have to go back to the etymology of all these words and right. But ultimately, Sanskrit is the mother of all languages, right? So all the words directly, indirectly are coming from Sanskrit, and all these words come from sound. So sound comes, as Manjulali explained so nicely, it comes from the Supreme Lord. So it is absolutely correct to say that everything is coming, because everything means everything. Sarva Karana Karanam. So all these words indirectly are also coming from the Supreme Lord, because there cannot be anything which we can, say that God is not linked to it. Akbar Birbal story, all like that, right? Akbar said, one time Birbal said to Akbar, Akbar, you are greater than God. You are even greater than God. Wow. Looks like, yeah, I'm really great because I have so much this. I'm really great in this. But then Akbar said, well, can you explain why you're saying so? Birbal said, well, you can kick out someone from your kingdom, right? You can kick out someone from your kingdom, but God cannot do that because everything belongs to him, right? God cannot kick out anyone from his kingdom because everything is his. Sabhumi Gopal, everything is his, animate or inanimate. So just a small story which got linked with this this question of yours. You want to add anything to this? Interesting question. Thank you. Anyone else has any other comments or additions? Want to add? Yeah, let's go.
Just concluding words. So somebody brought this point up to Prabhupada that we also have made these big skyscrapers, we made these palaces, we made these different, maybe amusement parks or whatever. So we are also intelligent. Why are you glorifying God for his intelligence? So Prabhupada said, yes, we have creative power, we have intelligence because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and he's a supreme intelligent. So qualitatively, there is no difference. We have to see the quantitatively. We may create some buildings, some houses, some amusement parks, but God has created innumerable universes and he's maintaining them and he's cognizant and there are no failures. Our buildings may fail, our amusement parks may fail, but so God is like supremely intelligent. And he is saying that, we glorify the intelligence of Sir Isaac Newton, Einstein, and so many different scientists. But as soon as the soul is gone, finished. Sir Isaac Newton is gone, the intelligence is gone, everything is gone. So we have to understand that eventually everything is resting upon the Supreme Lord. And so earlier days, scientists were not actually atheists. These days, scientists are atheists and they decry the existence of God. But initially, as we were discussing about Einstein's examples, they were all very spiritual and they saw and appreciated God's hand in everything that was created. That was one aspect. And we were discussing about the subtle body. So we're made of the gross body and the subtle body. We see there, we have so many subtle elements. In the gross sense, we see today's modern medical science, we pick up things when they're actually seen with our tools and equipments. But the ancient medical practices of acupuncture, Ayurveda, these are all ancient medicines and they work on the subtle body principle. That's why they pick up things before they actually manifest in the gross sense. So that's also one aspect that we are actually consisting of gross and the subtle body. So we pick up the subtle differences in our body, then the gross manifestations will not take place, and so diseases will not be seen. But because we are more relying on the modern tools, and they have limitations because they're created by us. These ancient medicines are there in the scriptures. And when we read the scriptures, because Krishna has created us, he knows our bodies best. So we are actually consisting of both gross and subtle body, and it will be futile if we just deal with the gross body. We have to deal with the subtle body. And we see how mind is so powerful. It's subtle, but it causes depression, anxieties, and different psychiatric problems today. It's so powerful. It's so powerful, but it's subtle, and it takes time. So we'll just conclude with one statement, which is very, very important, and reflect on that, is that is this material world, we're reading about so much about energies today. So is this material world spiritual or material? Is this world spiritual or material? The answer is it is spiritual in one sense, because it is all Krishna's energy. Why are we calling it material world? It's because of the forgetfulness of Krishna. As soon as everyone would remember Krishna, and as soon as everyone would understand that God is the ultimate proprietor, it will become a spiritual world. Nothing will be remaining material. So material means forgetfulness of Krishna, and spiritual means remembrance of Krishna. As soon as we remember Krishna, it is spiritual. So that's the concluding words before anybody has anything to add or reflect upon.
Okay, so I think we'll pause here. We'll take a few minutes over time. So thank you so much for your kind association. And, wish you happy Ekadashi. And, thank you again for joining and always inspiring us by your example, by your wonderful reading, hearing, and keeping your kind association. Thank you so much. Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad ki, Jai Shubha ki, Jai Samaveta Govinda ki, Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo. Thank you. Haribol.
Haribol, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hari-
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
Mataji. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Hari Bol.